Audio director over at EALA, but for the past, previous to EA, I was an audio director at Ritual Entertainment for about 9 years. Did a lot of fun titles, and I'm going to go over the creation of the theme song "What's the World Come To" that I made for SiN episodes. So I'm just basically going to outline the process I went through from start to finish, and hopefully it's something you can leverage for your own games. So as an overview, you can go through the steps of pitching it, how to approach your higher-ups and get a theme song going. Plan it and prove it, some pre-production techniques that you can use to get some momentum on your theme song. Produce it, some polishing tips for you. Implement it, where to fit it in your game and how to permutate it to fit in your different game's parts. Market it, how to, oops, sorry. Okay, yeah. There we go. Market it, how to get it out there and promote it, and then a wrap-up. So starting with pitch it. So how do you approach your executive producer, creative director, and generally people with money? So you can use some talking points to talk to them about it. One is that the theme reinforces the title. Many times when a game is in production and also in release, screenshots and videos kind of give an impression, but an emotional connection can be made if you use audio and especially a theme to help flavor what's being presented by your team. It's a proven interest generator. Fans, your customers, the press, all really seem to plug into the idea of a theme song and are really excited about it. One thing that was surprising to me on my team is it's also an internal interest generator. When I was working with the team, showing them the theme as I was working on it, got the team excited about the game and gave them something to rally around too, which is really great. Low cost, high benefit. Doing a theme song yourself saves you the licensing fees and also potentially the headaches of licensing someone else's music. So you get to spend less on it and get greater benefits out of it because you own it and you can use it for things that you like. Product identification. It's something that people, when they hear your theme song, know, oh, that's the theme song from SiN episodes. It's What's the World Come To. And it's almost like a James Bond effect. When you hear the Bond theme, you know exactly what kind of product you're getting into and what your expectations are. So it's a good way to get your customers to identify with it. And the final step for me was saying, okay, I'll prove it to you. I'll make a rough draft. You guys can give me criticism. You can even say no. But I guess in my experience, when you give them a rough and they kind of like it, it's hard for them to say no. So it's a nice thing to do. So plan and prove it. So some pre-production stuff. One of the things I worked on for SiN episodes was to see what my target market is. And this is something you can talk to your marketing guys with, but also just you can get a general sense of what your game's target is. For us, we did shooters, and so we knew guys who like to blow stuff up between 20 and 30. So what I did is I actually went out to the charts and kind of identified some songs that maybe I didn't like personally, but I thought would fit the demographic and that fit the mood of the game. So I did borrow some of the styles and saw what would fit who I was aiming the song at. Focus on melody. This is something that I kind of came up with, is that a theme song I think should be catchy, should be hummable, and simple enough where it sticks in people's heads. So something that just you can take away very easily, nothing too complex. And I think you can multiply the effect if you can create a lyrical device that mimics that simple melody line, which I'll talk a little bit about later. Very intensity. When you're writing a theme song, I find it useful to think of the entire game as a whole and make your theme song a microcosm of that plot arc. So for me, I started out as a verse-chorus set that was low intensity, we'll break down, then a high-intensity version of that same verse-chorus, a moody, mysterious breakdown, and then an all-out action finale, and then a mysterious ending, which I felt mimicked the plot pretty well. You can also leverage those sections in your game, too, when you can derive themes from that, which I'll talk about later as well. Creation of lyrics. This is a tough one. It's tough to make lyrics for any song, much less for a game. I approached it from the point of view of getting into the point of view of the main character of the game, Wade, and his monkey sidekick, Jessica. And at the start of the game, they'd been fighting for right, and had basically been frustrated, and not only frustrated, branded as villains themselves. So they were approaching the start of the game with a sense of shattered hope, and that they wanted to try to redeem themselves. So that's where the What's the World Come To idea came from, is that everything they had tried did really not come out well, so they were going to try their best to get back there. To do that, I took the idea of making a metaphor for the lyrics. So it's What's the World Come To, and it's sort of I set it up as a question and answer set up in the lyrics. So what's the world come to, and when everything I touch will leave blood on my hands, and sort of allude to things that are going to happen in the game, but not Mickey Mouse or exactly say what's going to happen in the game. And that I found fired people's imaginations. They could connect to the game and say, "Oh, what's that game about?" Or they could insert their own emotions into what the lyrics meant, and not say, "Yeah, that doesn't match the game. It fits the game pretty well." So that's what I ended up doing for lyrics. Next one is Sing It. It's if you afford to get someone to sing it for you as a demo, that's great. But actually, I ended up singing it myself just to see if it would work. And actually, it's good as a working iteration process where you sing it here, and that could be different. Let's try something else, and you can rearrange stuff pretty well. And plus, if it sounds even half decent as yourself, then if you get a pro singer, it'll sound great. And actually, to prove my point, here's a little embarrassing clip of me doing the rough. Actually, just before I do that, quick thing on constructive criticism. Just find someone you trust musically to give you feedback. It's always good to get objective feedback on what you're doing. So anyway, here's that rough version.
What's the world come to when bullets are on that you can't understand? What's the world come to when all that I touch will be?
So that was a rough version, and everything in there is synthetic and sampled, and it's me totally squished in there. So the next step from that, if people like it, is to take it to the production phase to give it some polish. One of the problems that I have is that I like to make lots of iterations on arrangements, so just pick a final arrangement you think will work and stick to that. Don't try to muck around with stuff after you start production. I think it's good to finalize it. Live players. I think live players are wonderful, and I try to get them as much as possible. They add an organic feel to music that people connect to. So even though people initially samples sound pretty good, but once you get a live player and then that energy, it really makes it seem more real to the listener, I've always found. Another thing I've always found is getting live players, their performance will give you something you never anticipated. They're geniuses at what they do, and you can really leverage that. So live players are the way to go. And then if you use live players, just make sure for your sessions that you are prepared and go in. Make sure your song is in the right key if you're going to get a singer. For SiN episodes, I had a singer, guitarist, and drummer. So go in, make sure your key's good, your charts are good, make sure it's something that they can understand, and you won't have a frustrating time in the studio. You won't be tearing your hair out. You'll be having fun.
What's the world come to?
And here's the final mix and master.
When everything's going the way of the gun, what's the world come to? If life is a shadow of what has been done, I want you to know, don't take it slow, just come undone, the sin will take hold, I can't hold it.
And just a couple of quick notes on the mix and master that I tried to make the mix. Oh shucks. Tried to make a mix and a master set that was close to what was playing on the radio. I guess I find with pop music these days it's severely overmastered and squished, so I tried to meet them halfway on that. But it's something that you should probably I took actually a couple of pieces and A-B'd the mixes as I went through them and just mind the right ballpark for what people are expecting. So did that, and then you can always have fun once you've done your main theme is have fun remixing it, and so make it dance.
Please don't ever say, what's the world come to? When bullets are all that you can understand.
So it's a fun way to extend your theme and to get it in different markets for different uses too. It's a higher energy version for action stuff. Now going to implementing it in the game, where does it fit in? I usually find that the vocal version is a little bit too distracting to have over gameplay, so what I ended up doing was sticking that in the intro and also in the end credits. But it doesn't mean that the theme needs to stop there. What you can do is then use it as character identification. And what I ended up using for the main theme was having this identify with your sidekick, Jessica. And so whenever she appeared in the game, I would use this theme to identify her and also to create a sense of place in the scene. One thing, though, is that the main theme that I wrote doesn't really match the underscore that I made for the rest of the game, so what I did is had fun sort of combining the two styles, and here's an example of that. So yeah, so it's the same structure as the theme. It's just drawn out as a string figure to have some counterpoint on the top, but use that through the underscore. And on a similar note, you can use derivative themes based on that theme. So anytime Jessica is in conflict with other characters, say the villain or a different location, you can contrast that theme with the other characters or locations themes. So that's a fun way to get leverage out of your theme song. And now that you've done it, you can also market it. How to take advantage of your theme song. So it's great for promotions of all kinds, like videos, both for gameplay and for interviews and stuff like that. Game reviews, it was a really neat way to get positive mention in game reviews. They usually devote a sentence or two of positive response to a game soundtrack, so it's free good stuff in a review. Good for interviews for yourself and your team to talk about the game. Podcasts, I had fun doing some making of podcasts, and people really seem to like those to get a chance to connect to you as an artist, but also your company and your title. And a strong online response, good buzz in the forums, and just creates general goodwill. So hopefully you get reactions like, "Oh my goodness, did you hear that song?" Let's see, next. And then as a final step, you can leverage it as a soundtrack release. So again, once you release a soundtrack, you get more reviews and more buzz. It's great to get tied into the soundtrack reviewing and game soundtrack people, especially like Music for Games and other great guys that plug into that. More leverage. Again, the soundtrack is a good podcast and interview source. Here's sort of an opportunity you can do. You can bundle your soundtrack to make a gold version. You can throw in poster, t-shirt, the game, and the soundtrack, and poof, you've got a super deluxe version you can sell or give away or use as a tool. And what we ended up doing was selling it on iTunes, which was a great move, I think, because it was very low cost to entry. Another source of reviews and buzz, also a good way to cross-link with other soundtracks. We got on playlists with other people and got exposure way beyond even our target demographic for the game. And then for a hard copy, for a CD, we ended up going with Cafe Press because it was just, we didn't want to spend money up front, so if people wanted a hard copy, we made it a little bit more enticing. We put a making of booklet in the hard copy CD and just put it up on Cafe Press so people could get it on demand. So yeah, that was pretty much the process. So for the wrap-up, I would say go out and make one. I think they're a lot of fun to do. They're a way to harness your creativity as a musician and also a great opportunity to really shine. And I think it helps the industry too, because I think theme songs make people take games more seriously and make them feel more like movies and TV shows where they're used to having themes. And while a theme song may not be great for all products, I think there could definitely be more opportunity space for theme songs throughout. Well, that concludes my presentation part. I don't know if anyone has any questions. Okay, thanks.